Hello guys, last lesson in the cycle for this week. We are going to be looking at lesson 11, which is not titled Nature vs Nurture. It is titled, and I want you guys to fix this because I made a mistake. It is titled The Life Course. So if you guys could fix that up for me, that would be fantastic. Once you have done that, we are on page 30 and we'll get stuck in. So the life course. So the syllabus stop point today is to transition through the life course, and we're looking at changing rights and responsibilities. So transition through the life course. Essentially what this means, the life course is, if you want to put in a little dash or bracket here, is different stages of life. And I've even done that here when I've written the subheading here. So the life course is sort of like from beginning to end, what are your changing rights and responsibilities throughout your life. So we're going to be looking at, and this is best reflected in the table here below, from infancy all the way to being a mature age and an elderly person. What are the different sort of rights and responsibilities that are expected of you? How do they change? How do they increase in responsibility? How might they decrease as you get older as well? And so we're going to have a bit of a look around that. So the first thing I want you to do is fill in this word bank. Give it a read and then summarize. Don't forget to summarize those core notes into your books, remembering that you generally want to aim to summarize each dot point here. Okay, so you should have 3 main points for your summary there. Okay, essentially what this is looking at is describing the idea of the last stage. So in different stages of life, you have different increased social responsibilities. So for example, a baby isn't expected to pay rent of a house because we deem them like physically incapable of doing that. You know, they can't even think for themselves often or not, yet alone pay rent or a mortgage or something. Okay, so it can be as crazy or absurd as that. But even different things like social responsibilities, like what we would expect of a young adult versus a teenager, is very different. So once you've done that, I want you to list 3 ways your rights and responsibilities are different to that of your parents. Now, this might be a good chance to even talk to them about that. Now, quickly, we did look at the difference between rights and responsibilities. We did a practice HSC question on it, and we've done some concept cards on it. So hopefully you're very familiar with the difference between the two, and then you can answer those here. So what I would do is, you could do one on rights and one explicitly on responsibilities, or you can just interchange and weave them throughout there. That's fine. So 3 examples of that there would be fantastic. Once you have done that, I want you to tackle this table. Now I'm going to do infancy as an example for you. We've got 5 columns here, and 9 rows. So what I've done here is I've written down what I believe is the different life stages that we go through. Now you'll note that there's a lot more transition happening when you were younger. So for example, in the first sort of 25 years of your life, you've got 5 different stages, but then the next 25 years of your life, you've just got 1. So especially when we're early on in developing, we go through a lot more life stages. Once we hit adulthood, we tend to stay the same and we don't change too much until we get into our later adulthood. Now, that's not to say we can't change or that we're incapable of changing, but most people are generally set in their ways, their behaviours and their attitudes towards life by their mid-20s. So, complete the following table of the life stages of humans. Compare and share your ideas with your classmates. So this will be a great activity to do with them. So you go through each different life stage, and I want you to write down what you think the typical social activities, the typical behaviours, their attitudes towards life, and your attitudes towards that life stage concurrently. So I'll do infancy as an example. So 0 to 2-year-olds, they're... Now my table's going to get a bit screwed around here, but yours hopefully won't. I'll just Control-Z that so I don't actually butcher this. Okay. So, infancy, typical social activities. There aren't dramatically there aren't two. Sorry, I just noticed this is there isn't a dramatic or great deal of social activities a 0 to 2 year old can partake. You may have things like daycare. You could have babysitting duties. Most of the interactions between 0 to 2 would probably be at family events. Okay, so it probably doesn't change too much outside of that realm. When we're looking at typical behaviours of an infancy, these are the three main things that they do. They cry, they poop, and they breastfeed. That's pretty much, and there's a fourth one, sleep. That's pretty much their typical behaviours of a 0 to 2 year old. I'm going to have the great joy of dealing with that in 6 weeks time. That's a bit scary. Their attitudes towards life, I would say with infancy, their only sort of attitude at this point in time is curiosity. I don't think they cognitively have developed too much to be able to have a distinct view on how they view life. And here, when we're looking at their attitudes towards life, we can lean into some stereotypical ways of thinking, especially when we get to some further ones down here. But say for example, if we get to someone who's a mature age, a lot of the time their attitudes towards life is they might appear senile, or they could generally have a great appreciation for life because they've been through so much. Say an adolescent's attitudes towards life might be that they might be unhappy with where they're at, or their general attitudes towards life is a lot of risk taking. What do the kids say? YOLO, living in the moment, that kind of thing. Okay, so attitudes towards life can change depending on your life stage. Obviously, and then I want you to write your attitude towards them. Okay, so obviously this is more a justification of your own view towards them. And the idea is I want to see at the end of this if you guys have some very shared attitudes or characteristics towards people. So we might do one. We'll start adolescence, but then I want you guys to do the next ones. Now, again, if you're not too sure on what any of these are, asking your parents would be a really good place because they've seen you transition through all these life stages, so they'll definitely be able to help you with some of these answers. So some typical social activities of adolescence could be sport on the weekends, partying with the friends. You might have sleepovers, late night shopping. I don't know if you guys still do that. Hanging with friends, whatever it is. What are the typical social activities you think of adolescents? Their typical behaviours. I know rule breaking, testing boundaries, we could say illegal activity, but we won't go too far down that rabbit hole. But you can be more specific here. So say testing boundaries, so e.g. Breaking parents or school rules. Okay, so things like that are some typical behaviours. I'll let you guys go on with the rest there. I think I've given you enough examples there. But fill out that whole table, and then I want you to compare and share your ideas with your mates as you go, if you're a group that works with people, or if you go solo, see if you can meet up with someone a bit later and compare, because it's a good way to see if you're struggling with any of these. You might see what another person has gotten, and then that might be able to help you carry on from there. And that is about it, my friends, today. So if you have any struggles with any of the lessons this week, make sure you come and see me. The last thing I want you to be doing is approaching me on Friday or Thursday, the day before it's due, and saying that you got no idea what I'm talking about, or you're not sure what you had to do today, because that is a bit of a silly move on your behalf. That's not showing me responsibility. All right, have a good one.